Why do you pop over there? I want you over here. Right, we're back. We had a few technical issues. I do apologise. Gonna try and do a half-hour live stream now and see if we can salvage the situation because that is really frustrating. We had a good live stream going and it decided to not cooperate anymore, and it failed in the most catastrophic way possible. On the hour mark, which is really annoying. It just decided to freeze up and stop working, which frustrating. But to recap what we had talked about, we had talked about a fair bit of the sports stories of the day. You know, Sam Curran and Moeen Ali. Hi, yeah, the last live stream literally decided to crash literally midstream, which is really annoying. So we had some really good conversations going, we had some really good topics going, and it decided to the laptop crashed. So I sort of lost a bit of everything there, which is really frustrating. We had a good live stream going, but hey, we're going to try and see what we can salvage from the evening. Technology, um, you know, notwithstanding. So if you've got any questions, feel free to ask away. We've covered British ice hockey, the NHL. We've covered bit about Mourinho and what's happening with Mourinho at Man United. We've covered a bit about Chelsea and what's going on there. So we have covered a fair few topics. We've got Clint Dempsey retiring, that's another one. And now technology is failing me again. So this is that Challenge Cup final today. I don't quite understand the question because we've had the Challenge Cup final. Catalan won, so I'm not sure what the question's about there. In So I'm not sure what's going on with the question there. I watched the Challenge Cup final last week. I did a video on it. I wasn't aware that there was more Challenge Cup final. So just let me see what it. Oh, everything's going wrong. Let's see. I don't quite get the question there because the Challenge Cup final was obviously at the weekend and I watched it, did a video on it, so I'm not quite sure what the question's about there. But so I'm not really sure what you're trying to get out of the question now. I really do apologise, but it is what it is. I mean, we're trying to salvage a live stream that went horribly wrong with it. Oh yeah, no, I did. Yes, I did. I did a video on it. I did see the Challenge Cup final. I put my review of the Challenge Cup final on the channel, so that's up on the channel. I actually felt, even though the second half was a very messy second half, and both sides just for some reason couldn't keep hold of the ball for more than a couple of phases, I think it was really entertaining, and it was a great shame that the crowd was down on last year. It was a half empty stadium, and there's questions about whether Wembley should continue to host the Challenge Cup final going forward for the next 9 years. They've got the contract until the contract's up for renewal in 2027. So the Challenge Cup will be at Wembley until 2027, but there are questions about, is Wembley a suitable venue for the Challenge Cup final, considering that the Super League Grand Final at Old Trafford, is a more popular game. The fact that French teams play in the Super League structure. Let's say Toulouse end up in the Super League as well, and they get to a Challenge Cup final. There are questions about the suitability of Wembley as the final venue. But I felt it was no. I did watch Leeds in the semi-final as well on TV. I felt Leeds had a strange season. They brought in Sinfield into the coach's box. It has sort of helped having his voice back in the dressing room, but I think Leeds. I need to rebuild slightly and look at bringing through a new core of players, because so many experienced players have retired really quickly after one after the other, and you've only got Jamie Jones Buchanan left out of that leadership group. That's an issue. I think they are lacking a little bit of leadership in the dressing room and on the field. But in all honesty, no, the Challenge Cup final was one of the more entertaining Challenge Cup finals I've seen in the last 10, 15 years. I really enjoyed it. And yeah, Sinfield, I think he's got a hard road ahead of him. I think there's a lot of work to do. And you've got to look at the example of the Bradford Bulls. They had other issues as well, but that they were a strong side. They had some really great players. They won the Challenge Cup. They won the Super League, and now look what they are. But there were financial issues with Bradford as well. But that's the situation you don't want to get into. But yes, things have. Rugby league in the UK is reaching a crossroads point. I think they need to grow up more in the south of England, because otherwise the player pool and the fan base will be too small. And that's an issue if you want to be classed as a national competition. You need to grow the game a bit more outside the traditional areas. St Helens, St Helens are another one who are living off past glories to some extent. Same with Wigan. The order in rugby league is changing somewhat. It's more up for grabs. I can remember St Helens sides and Wigan sides in the 90s being the sides to beat. I think that fear factor is not there anymore. I think it's they've lost that fear factor of the away team going to places like St Helens and going to places like Wigan. I think that fear factor is gone somewhat, and but I haven't watched enough of the Super League this season, because it's really hard to get it if you don't have Sky. If you don't have Sky, it's really hard to watch any Super League rugby, which is again a problem, which is hindering the development of the game in England outside of the traditional areas. It is hindering it massively. Super League is at a crossroads, as I say. Rugby League's at a crossroads. I think the NRL is far, far, far and away better competition. I think the NRL is further ahead than Super League in talent. Talent, the developing talent, keeping the best talent, the quality of player, the quality of skill level, the physicality, the refereeing standard. NRL is the gap is growing, and will continue to grow, because there's a difference between the NRL and Super League. More NRL games are shown free to air. The live stream, it crashed. I had no control over it. The live stream my laptop decided to overheat and crash. So I basically had to start the live stream again, which is really, really annoying, because we had a good stream going. We had some good questions. We had some really, really good discussion going, and it decided just to cut out, which was really, really annoying, because that hasn't happened before. We've had a few issues with the internet before, but never with the whole laptop deciding to go, I don't want to work anymore, which is really, really frustrating. But we got it back up. We'll try and go for about another 20 minutes, because I was planning to go and finish the live stream just before it crashed as well. But it decided not to cooperate, which is really frustrating. Really, really frustrating. That's really annoyed me, because it just happened at the worst time. I was about to wind it up and call it a night, and then we lost everything. And of course, it hasn't updated on my YouTube channel itself, which is really frustrating. So I've got to work out what's going on with the video there, and try and work out what's gone wrong. And I've got to send a crash report to Microsoft and say, look, your software's crap. But it just cut out. It was completely out of my control. The technology let me down tonight, which is a bit annoying. But here we are. So we are here. but yeah, no, it's uh, it depends, like, what your travel arrangements are. If you're driving, you can do it. Trains a bit more difficult, but honestly, Nottingham and Sheffield are two of the biggest teams in British ice hockey. They're two of the most historical teams in British ice hockey. I would honestly recommend it. They they have a lot of good players. They're one of the best teams in the country. They're a strong physical side, and the best way to learn the game is to watch. So if you can get there, and if if you want to go, I would recommend doing an away day. It's great fun, as I said. It's really enjoyable, and sometimes you take a friend along. I mean, it, you will meet a lot of people that will become your friends. I will tell you that. In ice hockey, I've met a lot of people who are now my friends because of the sport. So I really enjoyed the sport. I've made a lot of friends through it. It's a great social activity. Um, it's called the Elite League, not the NHL. If you want to go to the NHL, we have to go to North America, and you need a passport for that. And I don't have a passport, but um, I'd be more than happy at some point, if arrangements can be made. Yes, to definitely go see an Elite League game with you. I've got a friend who would want to do that as well, and we normally go to hockey together. And he's going through a tough time right now, and there's a few things going, which means he can't do as many games this season. But yeah, me and my mate. I can always drag him along as well. But that would have to be a lot of planning going to that, because my friend is a chef. I'm a electrical um, engineer, and so we've got to get time off work and arrange stuff, because most games take place on weekends. We both live in the south of England. You live in Scotland, so it would have to be something for the future. Something where me and my mate have got to book the same week off work, and we can always try and do something. That'd be a good crack. That'd be good fun. And yes, you do make friends out of the sport. I've definitely um, made a lot of friends through watching this sport over the last 25 odd years. I've made a lot of friends through the sport. Some of them I've been lifelong friends. Some I've made in the last few years, but I really enjoy it. Um, and yeah, away days are great fun. It's not my choice should you go or not. It's up to you. As long as you can easily get there, and it's doable, by all means, go to an away game. I hope you enjoy it. Win or lose, you're there to enjoy the game, and then also you're learning about the game while you're doing it as well, which is really great fun. Um, and it's an interesting. It's a great sport. It's an interesting sport, and some of the fans really are interesting characters as well. So yeah, by all means, go. The more games you see, the more you're going to learn about the sport. The more you can get into the sport, and the more I think you'll enjoy the sport. I mean, there have been seasons where I haven't been able to go to every game, and last season I went to every single home game. And it was an experience, and it was a journey that was quite fun. Hello. Right, let's see in the next 15 minutes how many questions we can get through, and hopefully the live stream doesn't go off on us, because that was a bit annoying. That was really, really frustrating. The live stream failed. Um, but we're back, and we're going. Um, but no, by all means, yes, get your questions in. We're going to try and go until about, say, 20 past, half past 10, and hopefully the laptop can not go wrong. Uh, yeah, I think Dundee. That's. I don't know enough about the Elite League to pass comment, but um, Cardiff, Sheffield, and Nottingham are the three strongest sides. If you can get a win against one or all of them, you're doing well. Um, those are the three traditional best sides in British ice hockey, by some way. It is a shame that British ice hockey's lost the Edinburgh Capitals this summer. Real shame, but I've done videos on that. There was a lot of money issues with that team. There was a lack of success with that team, um, a lack of consistency with that team as well. They couldn't recruit the best players. Um, but we'll have to see what happens this season with one less team in that league. It's going to be an interesting season with an odd numbered league, which is a bit annoying, but hopefully you enjoy your season and you know, the weakest. Oh God, that is put me on the spot. Sheffield have developed some really good players. Nottingham have developed some really good players, in Cardiff. Um, Cardiff is Cardiff. I think Cardiff is probably the weakest of the three, even though they won last year the title. I think they are the weakest of the three. Looking at if key players get injured, Sheffield have got, I think, the best development, the best young players, and Nottingham are the most solid. So it's take your pick. It's like Man United and Arsenal and Chelsea. Basically, you take your pick. What do I think about Jamie Vardy and Gary? I was talking about this on the last live stream before it decided to stop working. I think um, England may regret, and Southgate may slightly regret the decision. I understand why Southgate's going with youth. He gave youth the chance in the World Cup, and they did very well. But Vardy and Cahill had that winning experience of winning trophies. Cahill and Vardy have both won the Premier League. Cahill's also won, I think, definitely the Champions League, if not the Europa League, with Chelsea. They bring those winners medals that a lot of these young players don't have. They have both stated that they will return to international football should the need arise through injury or suspension. I can't see it really happening. I do feel sorry for both of them, in the sense that they didn't get a lot of game time in the World Cup. That may have also influenced their decision, playing second fiddle to younger players and less experienced players. But especially in Jamie Vardy's position, there's a lack of depth up front. And Gary Cahill as well, there's a lack of depth in defence outside of a few key players. If a key player here or there gets injured, there's a lot of problems defensively for England. But Southgate is obviously keen to give younger players a chance and play his philosophy. Obviously, I think Vardy. I don't think Jamie Vardy suits the system that Gareth Southgate has. I think the system that we had in the World Cup didn't suit Vardy. Most of the goals came from set plays, apart from Jesse Lingard's long distance shot that went in. So that doesn't really suit Vardy's play, which is moving off the last shoulder of the defender, you know, moving off the last man, running, making deep runs, using his pace, exploiting the space. So that's some of his strengths, and sniffing around the box, you know. Set plays aren't really Jamie Vardy's strength. But he's also stated that he wants to focus on his club career and prolong his club careers as much as possible, which again ignites the club country debate, which regularly rumbles on in the media and amongst fans. And if you ask most football fans what they rather see, their club win or their country win a tournament, they go with their club. So that's sort of the culture within English football is the club country debate, and a lot of fans will rather go with the club do well than the country do well. It's a weird one. It wasn't always so, but that's what that is. I do think there could be some issues with depth, though. I think Southgate needs to look at the players that are available, but also the clubs need to give these young players a lot more game time than they're actually getting. I think the game time they're getting isn't enough. I think some of them don't get enough at all. And look at the age group teams, the under-20s, the under-21s, the under-19s. All of them are doing really well, but those players aren't getting the time at club level, and that is a real hindrance to their development. You need to give them time, and give them games, and the managers aren't, because the manager can just go on the transfer market and buy a player. And I think the FA needs to look at that and go, right, how do we encourage more homegrown talent to be able to play in the domestic league? How do you do that? And they've got to come up with a solution. The Germans have figured it out. The Italians have figured it out. The Spanish have figured it out. The French have figured it out. there's a reason why they all have more World Cups and European trophies than us. It's not hard. They have a higher percentage of players who are eligible to play for their national side playing in their domestic leagues. It's a simple solution. There are ways to do it. You can cap overseas players in a squad. You can cap overseas players in a starting lineup, which is maybe not the best way, but you can put restrictions on how many overseas players can play in a team, like an import rule or foreign player rule. Other sports and other leagues do it really, really well. Yeah, it's a debatable one. It really is. We could debate the club country debate forever. But it's an interesting one. Interesting points. But yeah. Right, okay, it's 10 past 10. Let's see how long, if we've got any more questions. I think the Vardy Cahill question is really important. I think it's the timing of it as well, with the international break literally a few weeks away. The timing of it couldn't be, more coincidental than it is. I think the timing is important, and it does actually limit Gareth Southgate's options if players aren't fit, and there are some players who aren't fit right now, who otherwise would have been around the squad. So. And that lack of experience. Now they've had that one tournament together and they've done really well. It's good, but a lot of them aren't quite experienced enough, in my eyes, at this level. Yes, the Nottingham away game is a good away game to go to. Considering you're coming out from Scotland, it's about halfway. We have to get more, not just youth, but more English players playing in the English leagues, all professional leagues, because that grows your player pool that you can select from. I'm really surprised that the percentage we get on a match day weekend in the top two tiers is around 30 to 40%, averaging out about 37% on a given match day weekend. In Germany and in Italy and in Spain and in France, and in fact a lot of the other European leagues, it is far, far higher for the percentage of players eligible to play for their national country. We're record lows. I don't support a team in the elite league. Ice hockey. My team plays in the league below the national league, so I have no need to support a team in the elite league. I don't. Sorry. But I back to the back. Yeah, we do need to give the youth players a chance at club level. There is no doubt on that. There is no doubting that. I think a lot of the veteran players no longer want to play, retired from international football, or retired in general, and there is a big gap to be filled, and that is partly due to the fact we had less every season. We had less and less English players playing at Premier League level and Championship level. It's starting to go up, but it's still far too low if we are to have long-term international success. And you've got to look at the age group teams, the under-21s, the under-23s, the under-19s, the under-18s, all doing really well and getting far in tournaments and winning tournaments. And they're just not getting the game time. So, and people wonder why the national side is struggling. They're not getting the game time. They're not learning the skills by playing matches. You can train as much as you like, and you can have them in your squad and put them out on loan at lower league clubs. But if they're not going to play at the elite level, they're not going to be able to play at an international level and be successful at international level, because they're not getting the game time and they're not getting the experience. One stream crashed completely. Don't even go there. The one we were on earlier cut out, crashed. The laptop crashed. I put another one up and deleted it because I just couldn't get my flow in. I was frustrated. Now we're on this one. The fact you found this one's all right. I don't know what's gone on. I'm going to have to send a very interesting email to YouTube and Google and Microsoft going, this is crap, and not be very, very happy. I don't know what happened. The laptop just decided to have a moment and completely black screen me and freeze up. I think something went wrong. I don't know what it was. So it might have been trying to update, and being on the computer, wouldn't allow it to update. So we'll have to find out what it was. I'll have to do a diagnostic on the laptop, but it just crashed. So unfortunate. That's a bit unfortunate. And the thing is, I'm going offline in about 10 minutes. I'm going to call it a night in about 10 minutes, but um, I'll have to have a look at what is going on now. I think there is an issue with the live streaming. Something went a bit wrong. I'm not the first YouTuber to complain about the chat and the live stream having problems and crashing out. So I will send an error report, and we'll see what we go. Yes, I'm not against like loaning out players or letting players go on a free and things like that, and players just playing. Some players play for obviously not enough players now play for the love of the sport. They play for the money. I think a lot of players' heads aren't in the right places. I think some of the other professional role models aren't the best with some of the antics they get up to. I do think there's still an issue with even the lower league clubs. They get raided a lot of the time for their talent. You look at some of the clubs that really have brought through a lot of young talented youngsters that then bigger club comes along and pitches that talent. That's also got to stop because there's an issue. Huddersfield have been forced to shut their academy because teams like Man United and Man City have been pinching their players because they can offer them a higher level contract. So I do think a salary cap has to come in. I do think we need to like control player salaries. We need to definitely look at agents' fees as well because these agents are bending the rules to move youth players and breach transfer rules. I don't. It's a difficult one because the young player on loan can be called back to the parent club at any time, and sometimes these young kids just bounced around from club to club. They don't really get any continuity. They're not there for long enough. They're here for a few months here, a few months there, a few months here, a few months there, and they bounce around various clubs, and then they're cup tied. So that club that's got him on loan might have a good cup run. They come up against the parent club. They can't play the key player in the key position because he's on loan and he's cup tied, and it's an absolute farce. The system needs to be looked at. The system needs to protect the lesser clubs from having their talented prospects pinched by the bigger clubs who can afford to pay more money. That needs to be looked at. And there's definitely got to be some kind of salary and transfer cap put in place because there's a variety of issues at the moment. The loan system does have a lot of flaws in it as well. It does. It does, allow younger players to get a lot of game time and get a lot of game experience. But at the same time, there's a lot of issues with it because the parent club can say the player can't play against us, can't play in cup games, which could be key to that smaller club making a lot of money in the season and bringing in revenues because there's not a lot of money in the lower leagues. But yeah, the FA and the Football League and the Premier League need to look at the loan system. They've obviously made moves in bringing the transfer window closing forward in summer. The Sam Clucas, the whole thing is an absolute. The whole transfer system is a lot of problems. Agents' fees are far too high, far too high. You then got to look at some of the add-ons in the thing. So if a player, so Jamie Vardy, Fleetwood Town are still getting money off the Vardy deal, and then you got to look at when a player wins a league, the team that he was bought from gets further considerations that they've lost out on this great. There's all sorts, the goal bonuses and the win bonuses, and some of their salaries are more than I'll earn in 5, 10, 20 years. They earn in a week. It really is staggering how much money some of these players are being paid to kick a ball around. Really staggering. There has to be some kind of salary cap. There has to be some kind of agents' fees cap and a transfer cap, or some kind of constraint on the spending, because the ticket price is going up and up and up, and the loyal fan and those who support their clubs with thick and thin are being forced to spend more money than they really should, especially for the top two divisions, Premier League especially. They make enough money out of the TV deal they've signed for domestic and overseas rights. They have no right in charging us as much as they do. Yeah, it's an interesting one. Football is a sport with a lot of issues, and very few people are willing to put forward solutions and ideas that could be solutions. Yeah, definitely. Foreign managers, foreign players. Money is part of the problem. Um, it really is, and the agents are part of the problem as well. The agents and the cash and the over influx of foreign players and managers is part of the issue. Um, Big part of the problem. But the money is a bigger issue because teams like Man City can just go in. They've got infinite wealth. Chelsea started it with the first billion pound takeover, but they just go in and they look at a smaller club and they just cherry pick the best talent and they raid the lower clubs, the lower leagues, or the clubs that are smaller in their same league, raid the talent, and there you go. They just offer that youth player more money for his entry, his first professional contract, and the agents get involved, and there's they try and get the player, they pressure the player and the player's family to sign with them, and then the player gets a contract and then never plays a first team game for the club, gets put out on loan, gets bounced around. Foreign player comes in for a one-off transfer fee. Young player just gets bounced around, doesn't sign a new contract, refuses to sign a new contract, ends up struggling, lower leagues, bounced around, and doesn't fulfill his potential. Part of the issue, Chelsea got so many players out on loan, it's unbelievable. They sign a player, then loan him straight back to the club they just signed him from. It makes no logical sense. They've got about 60 players on contract. They're at the maximum amount of players you can have on contract or on contract at Chelsea. It's insane. Same with Man City. They're pushing the boundaries of how many players they can legally have contracted to the club under the current rules. It's bananas. But they've got the money to, it's a bottomless pit of cash for some of these clubs. And thankfully, other sports haven't, gone that way yet. I can see both codes of rugby ending up down that path at some point. They're the next two sports in this country that will go down that route. Rugby union's already going that way with the money in France, and some of the best talent playing in France. And to a point, the English Premiership here, when it comes to rugby, there's one or two clubs that are financial powerhouses compared to the rest and can attract star players. Rugby league, not so much, but I can see it going that way. But they're the next two sports that really will have a money problem where there's too much money in it and the fans don't benefit and the sport doesn't necessarily benefit from it. I don't see the benefits with that amount of money. The FA keep trying to, and the Premier League chief executives keep trying to tell us, oh yeah, we've never had it so good. The league's really strong and healthy. The league is really strong and healthy, while very few clubs actually not racked with debts. I've had this argument with Man City fans, and they cannot accept that they're breaching financial fair play. And if the Sheikh wants to pull his money out, Man City as a standalone entity had it. And they regularly do not fill out the Etihad. There's lots of empty seats at the Etihad. Man United, if they were standalone, they are in financial problems as well. They really, really are. So it's a complex one. Right. I'm gonna be online for another 6 minutes, so feel free to get the next couple of questions in. I'll take 2 or 3 more questions, and then this one is going to be called a night. We've had a few technical issues tonight with the live stream, and I do apologise. It's all got a bit haywire tonight with the old live streams, so I'll take a couple more questions. Obviously, this live stream, a lot of football. The first live stream, a lot of hockey, ice hockey, which was great to talk about. It was really great to talk about um, a minor sport in this country, which is starting to grow in importance and attract more and more fans and hopefully more families, and then hopefully we can have more young players come through and develop, because we're starting to become a bit of a production line for decent level players. Um, oh yeah, no. If Sheikh Mansour gets bored of his little toy, and I have no doubt he will at some point, and Man City becomes a standalone entity, it is in serious trouble. Same with Chelsea, same with Man United. Tottenham have spent a lot of money on their new stadium, about £1 billion. They need to be as successful as possible, be in the top four, top six, otherwise they're in trouble. Arsenal are the best run. Arsenal are the best run of all the big clubs. They've got no debt. Arsenal are the best run. So I think it, there are issues. Um, there are issues within the sport, but the financial fair play rules are too easily. They're too soft. When they are trying to enforce them, you can just get out by selling a player. There you go. Fine avoided. Points deduction avoided. Fit and proper persons test. We've argued about that before on the channel. That's a laughing joke. It's an absolute joke. What is considered the fit and proper persons test? Because as far as I can see, it's again so easily flouted. And yeah, no, it looks all gold and rosy, and it really isn't. Um, it's taken 26 years for 28 years, sorry, for the men's national side to get to a World Cup semi-final. It's taken 22 years to get to a semi-final, so we'll count Euro '96. They haven't been close to being a contender for a tournament since '96. It was meant to keep prices down for fans. Yep. And now there are plans to bring back safe standing areas because all-seater stadiums are proving to be not as popular with fans. There's a lot of issues with allegations of backhanders and breaching of transfer rules, corruption, tax avoidance. It's definitely not gold on the outside. They try and peddle this lie that it's good for the sport, the amount of money that's in it, but I'm not seeing as much. Yes, you've got a spanner. You are now moderator. You've got a spanner. What moderator is? You get a spanner. Yep, you've made moderator level. But no, yeah, the Premier League is not as rosy as it looks. It's actually got a lot of. There's a darker side to it, and the the and the dark side is the agents' fees are unchecked. There is chronic amounts of debt. There's issues with a lack of English players playing in the domestic league. We are out of the big five leagues, got the lowest. In fact, actually, most of the European leagues we come up very low on the amount of homegrown players playing. About around 30 to 40%, depending on the match day. So it somehow averages out at 37%. It is slowly going up, but not enough, not quick enough. And the Premier League was meant to improve the quality level of the English player. Yeah, no, that hasn't happened. Ticket prices going up, replica shirt prices are going up. So if you want to buy your club merchandise, your club colours, that's now a frigging fortune. What's happening with Wembley, that's an issue. the price of cup final tickets, the price of going to Wembley to watch games. There's a lot of issues with that. The Football League and the Premier League are having their own issues with the FA. There's a variety of things going on. The Championship, only 3 clubs made a post-tax profit. 4 clubs made a pre-tax profit 2 years ago, and all of those clubs, none of them were promoted or relegated. They were all mid-table clubs. All the rest got relegated or promoted, or were in the playoffs, or were in the bottom half of the table. The ones that are around the middle were okay. All the others either overspent or lost out because of relegation. So the Championship has got even more issues than the Premier League. There is a lot of problems. Wages are too high. I could bang on about it all day long, but I'm not gonna keep banging the football drum there. I mean, there's a reason why I don't enjoy the sport as much as I used to. There's a reason why on my favourite sports list it comes down a lot lower than it would have done 5, 10, 15 years ago. As I've got older, I've enjoyed football less and less, and it's slipping down my list of sports that I enjoy watching, and it's sad. I mean, I shouldn't really say that, but yeah, it's not. I don't enjoy it as much as I did. If this was 10 years ago, yeah, that's basically it. You either win a trophy, but possibly make a loss, or have a high chance of getting into debt, or have a good run team and be Arsenal, no silverware. Yeah, that's basically it. It's too much of it. Yeah, the sport has always been a business, but now it's got to the point where the money is so crucial, and the greed has got so much with certain clubs that you win a trophy and have one really good season, but break the bank doing it, or be like Arsenal for the last 12 years, and win a couple of FA Cups, but apart from that, no league titles, no European success, but have loads of money and be well run. That is it. It's got to that. It has got to that where be broke or be damned, because the sport is really badly run from top to bottom, from league to league. It's La Liga, yes, the next year's Cricket World Cup is in England. 10 teams, I think that's too few. I think if you want to try and grow the appeal of the game worldwide, you want to have as many teams as possible that play the sport playing, because that will grow the game massively outside of the traditional heartlands of it. It's a contentious issue. There's a lot of issues with cricket there. The ECB are trying to force through this 100-ball format that no one wants, because the ECB are clueless and can't run. The ECB are like the FA and the RFU. They have no idea how to govern a sport correctly because they don't. And yes, it is in England. And guess what? It's not really on free-to-air TV, so we don't get to watch it. Yeah, the ECB are greedy, and they sold the sports soul to Murdoch's millions at Sky. So there's my view on that. I'm not a fan of subscription TV. I never have been. As a kid growing up, didn't have a lot of money, and free-to-air sport was brilliant. I used to love watching, the Test match series in the summer. I used to love watching the Ashes and the other Test match series in the summer on Channel 4 and BBC. And the ECB decided to go, okay, the sport's really popular, let's cash in. And then the sport's lost popularity because of it, and has lost fans because of it. Really grubby deal with Sky, and it's denying the sport to millions of young people and people who cannot afford subscription TV. I'll have to have a look into the broadcasting rights for the World Cup next year. I do believe that the BBC will be getting some games of domestic cricket at some point in the next few years. Still not enough. Sky has too much control over the sport in this country, and if Sky have any issues like Rupert Murdoch dying because he's old, then sport in the UK is in serious trouble. Far too reliant on subscription TV that really doesn't give enough back to the sport, or to sport in general. But yes, it is in England next year. Right, I'm going to call that an evening because we've had one live stream. India always are very good at the short formats of the game. Really, really good. Pakistan are quite good. I think England and Australia will give it a good go as well. Sri Lanka always have a good side. Basically, your standard test playing countries, all of them have really good one-day format and T20 format teams. So any team that plays test match cricket from the rankings in Bangladesh upwards has a chance of winning it. It all comes down to who can adapt to English summer conditions. Yes, we've had a very hot summer this summer, but it's all going to come down to who can adapt to the conditions, the reverse swing, the outswing, the changeable conditions, and who can bat in those conditions as well. So I do think England, obviously being the home team, have a good chance. But of course, they've never won the Cricket World Cup. But never count out the Indians. Don't count out the Pakistanis, the Bangladeshis, the Sri Lankans, the West Indies. West Indies could have an inspired performance, though unlikely. Australia, they want to bounce back after the ball tampering scandal that they had over beginning of the year. New Zealand always have got a good solid setup at the moment when it comes to cricket. Any team can win it. It is literally a lottery right now. Really is a lottery. Any of the teams could really have a great performance. It's going to be fun. There we go. Right. I'm going to call that a night. Apologies for the issues with the live stream earlier when it cut out. We've had a few technical issues this evening. But I'm going to call that a night. Thank you very much, everyone who got involved and asked all the questions. Really appreciate it. And yes, Hornet, you will get your Serie A video, and I'm going to be focusing on one particular moment in time. You will get that video, but it's going to take a fair bit of research, and I've got to do a lot of research. So watch this space. It will happen most likely Saturday morning. I've got to do a lot of research, and the whiteboard's coming out, and the magnet's coming out, and I've got to take a lot of notes because there's a lot to discuss in that video. But you'll get your Serie A history video. It's just on a particular moment in Serie A history, and it's not necessarily what you would expect. Anyway, thank you everyone for taking part. I do apologise for the technical issues in the first live stream, and hence why we had to do a new one. But it happens. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. Please, keep liking and subscribing, get your mates interested. Really appreciate all the questions tonight. Thank you very, very much. Good night, and I shall see you soon.